Sandy, I put on her phone Life 360. Anybody familiar with Life 360? I don't know what the Apple equivalent is. I got it on Android. And I did, is it Life 360 too? Okay, all right. 180 on Apple, because they're way better. I put her on her phone because I want to keep track of her. We learned this in Israel. When last time we went to Israel, we had everybody put her on there because somebody's over in the gift shop and somebody else is in the bathroom, like, get over here, we've got to get on the bus and go. And so anyway, I went, this is genius. So I put her on my wife's phone and I could track her, right? Oh, she's at work. Oh, she's there. Oh, she's on the 90. Oh, she's getting off of the parkway. Got to get the house cleaned up. And I get here, and right? And about 2 months ago, I forget, she's like, man, something is just draining my battery, man. I can't understand what's happening. My battery just keeps draining. And I don't know who ratted me out, but I think it was Hannah. Said, oh, Dad put Life 360 on there, and you didn't know about it. And here's the deal. She had this app running in the background that was draining life out of her phone. Many of us have these things. They're there. We forget about them, but they're sucking the life out of us. That nagging thing that's going on in your heart, and you can't get to the place where, wait a minute, let's bring it out here to the front. Let's get it into the light. And we wanted to help you with that today. We want to see what the Bible says about it. Back in Bible days, they didn't have DSM-5. Is that the latest one, Joanna, DSM-5? It's the mental health, the Department of Science and Minnesota Health magazine. I don't know what it is, but it's the mental health thing. And they didn't have that back then, so they didn't have generalized anxiety disorder. But you know what? They had it. They had it. Peter writes this to the church. He says, cast all your anxiety on him. Now, here's a question for you. You guys are in church, so get the answer right, okay? Who's the him? Good job, yes. Jesus, cast all your anxiety on Jesus because Jesus cares for you. It's wonderful. Peter is writing this to a people who have committed their life to this Jesus, made a decision to follow Jesus, said, Jesus, I get it now. You're the creator of the universe. You're the Lord of everything. You're the King of kings. And I give you my life. And because they made that bold confession, they were arrested, they were thrown in prison, they were put in the Colosseum, they were persecuted, is the word we do. They were put to death. And so if you were going to be a Christian back in the time when Peter's writing this, persecution was going on all over the place. And Peter says, here's what you do. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. Yeah, sounds really easy. Sounds great. I have a phobia of Colosseums, coliphobia. It may be Delia. It's never good. They put you in there, it's not good. Well, Peter had watched God throughout his life, walked with Jesus. And I want to take you back to one of the stories that Peter knew, back in the Old Testament, with a guy named Moses. Anybody heard of Moses? Moses was told by Jesus to go and get the Israelites out of bondage. They were in Egypt for 430 years, many, many years as slaves. And God comes and says, Moses, get them out. And Moses shows up and he does these, God does these incredible miracles, the 10 miracles that Pharaoh's going, no, I won't do it, no, I won't do it. And finally, Pharaoh goes, okay, my stubborn heart, you beat me, God. Go, take the people. And Moses and the people are rejoicing. Another miracle number 11, most people don't ever remember, but as they're leaving, the Egyptians gave them all their gold and silver. Said, here, take all our stuff. Like we were destitute, poor, nothing, and now we're leaving with the treasures of Egypt. And they're hoofing off through the desert. They got this promised land out here. It's about a 2-week walk for them to, we're going to get this, it's going to be awesome. And they're out there in the desert, and they come to a place where there's no water. It's actually, there's water. There's bitter water. And God turns it to sweet water. Awesome. You get to a place there's no food. God shows up, says, hey, go out and on the lawn, just pick up the food off the ground. Every morning, I'll make sure you have food. And they go out there every morning, have food. It's amazing. They get to the place where now they're standing at the Red Sea and they're just looking at it, enjoying the beach. The kids are playing. They've got their flip-flops on. Everybody's having a great time. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's beautiful there. And all of a sudden, Moses looks back and he sees this dust cloud. And someone says, hey, those sound like chariot wheels. Hey, those look like shields gleaming in the sunshine. Hey, Moses, we're in trouble. Moses, the Egyptians are coming. Pharaoh changed his mind. He's coming after us. And God says, Moses, just stand and see the deliverance of the Lord. Lift up your hands. And Moses lifts up his hands, and all of a sudden the Red Sea just parts. And they walk over. You've seen them, the Ten Commandments, Charlton Heston leading them across. It's awesome. They're going through on dry land, and they're dancing. They're having a great time, and the Egyptians finally come, and God says, let your arms down, Moses. He lets his arms, destroys the enemy of God right there. Incredible. Now they're just, not another, just days. 10, 12 days, they'll get to the promised land. Do you have your notes out yet? Pull your notes out, all right? On your phone, on paper. I like paper better. The first principle, get out of anxiety. Found in Exodus 17, verse 1. First principle, get out of sin. Get out of sin. Look what the word says. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of sin. They set out from the desert of sin. Now, if you're a theologian here, you're going to go, this is really bad hermeneutics, and it really is, but it makes sense to me, and I like it. It's a beautiful picture when you see it. The word sin there is not even pronounced sin in the Hebrew. It's pronounced seen, all right? And the literal word, the Hebrew word, is a picture word, and it means prickly place, thorny place. So anybody go blackberry picking, right? And you get in there, and the bunch is, the good bunch is right back in there, and so I can do it, and you pull this one back, and you step on this one, and you kind of hold this one down, and all of a sudden you're back in there, and you cannot get out. I think that's a perfect picture of sin. I'll just get this one. And you're going in there, and you're going, it'll be fine. And all of a sudden you're caught a little bit, but it's not bad, and you get a little scrape. But when you turn around to get out, you find that you are hooked. And you're in a mess. And now you're scraped and you're bleeding. And you wonder, what in the world did I get into? The Bible calls it sin. And they were in the desert of sin. And God says, get away from there. Get away from there. And notice it says, from the desert of sin. It's a journey they were on. I wish I could tell you that, in just a few moments, I'm going to ask the prayer team to come forward, and we're going to pray for some folks, and we'd love to pray with you in a moment. But I wish I could tell you, when you come forward for prayer, and we put our hands on you, we're going to put our hands on you and pray, and just allow God to know that we're connected with you. Allow you to know that we're connected with you, as we're connected with God. Put our hands on you and pray, and you walk away and go, whoo, I am free, free indeed, free at last. This is awesome. Every sin I ever had is gone. No, it doesn't quite work like that. The sin I'm talking about is not the sin that we go through daily. Oh, I should not have honked at that driver. Ugh, I'm sorry, driver, I'm sorry. No, I'm waving, sorry. Don't flip me off, I'm sorry, right? Oh, we go through it's just stuff. Our humanity. I'm talking about the sin that you're gripped in. You are walking in known sin, and you know it's sin, and you know that God knows it's sin, but you're just not willing to walk out of that. And it's not that you walk out of it and you're going to be free, but you're going to say, I'm going to turn now and take a step. And there's going to be some thorns, there's going to be some things trying to hold you and keep you from, but you're going, no, I'll get whatever help I need to get out of this prickly place, to get out of this thorny place, because God wants to move me from the desert of sin. And today that may be you. You may be dealing with something. You got this secret there that I talked about earlier, and it's got you. But you got to make a start. So you want to get free from anxiety, fear, get out of the desert of sin. Number 2, it goes on, it says, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. And that's number 2, follow the command of the Lord. Follow the command of the Lord. They travel from place to place as the Lord commanded them. This is not even one verse. We haven't even got to the whole verse yet. I wish I was that quick at following the command of the Lord, right? Just need to, with me, God needs to write 12, 15, 200 verses, right? Keep down over and over again. Hey, Charlie, get out. Hey, follow. And I told you last week about how Sandy and I started this place. In 1999, Sandy spoke to us and said, I want you to start a church. We didn't know it was going to be this church. I want you to leave your job and start a church. It took me 2.5 years before I said, okay, I'll do it. We're in a great church. Life is good. Everything's fine. God's using us. This is wonderful. And here's the deal. God does use you even when you're in the place where God doesn't want you and he's commanded you to go someplace else. You can still be a good person, doing good things. But when I would have a challenge, when I'd have something that, God, I'm anxious over this. This is not a phobia. This is an anxiety. This is something I don't know what to do, God. And your word says, cast all my anxieties on you because you care for me. And I would take this anxiety and say, God, I got a problem here in the church where I was serving. I got a problem with the ministry I was doing. I got a problem with something. God, here it is. Take this, Lord. And you know what God would do? He'd go, why are you bringing that to me? Because you said, bring it to you because you care for me. I do. The problem is not with me, Charlie. I am a good God. The problem is with you, Charlie. You're not doing what I asked you to do. You go to the doctor and he says, hey, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Okay, doctor, told me to call you in the morning. Yeah, did you take 2 of those? No, they look kind of hard. I don't like swallowing pills. It's kind of yucky and the whole thing. Well, why you call me then? Click. If you're not going to do, and God told me, Charlie, if you're not going to do what I asked you to do, why are you bringing your anxiety to me? I have an answer for you, but you don't want to do it. And so me coming for 2.5 years, and God loved me. I was a Christian. I was pastoring. It's not like I was, far from God, living in some terrible place. I was. But the relationship, I wasn't being obedient to the Lord. They followed the Lord, and look what happens. They camped at Rephidim. They camped at Rephidim. This is another word, like sin. Rephidim is a picture word. It doesn't mean anything to you because you never heard it, and unless you go with me and Bridget to Israel next year, you probably won't even see it. We're going, right? Lord, by faith, we're going, yes. Bridget's helping lead our team. And we'll take you out to the desert. And there in the desert, you'll find these places where there'll be a pool of water and these gorgeous palm trees and a nice little souvenir shack just right there. And you can pay $5 to ride the camel and the whole, but you look and you go, wow, get rid of the tourist shack, get rid of all that. This is an oasis. You've seen them in the movies, right? Rephidim was one of those. And Rephidim in Hebrew means place of rest. Place of rest. So you're in the desert, trying to get to the promised land. It's just hot and dry. And then, oh, look, I'm going to take you. Follow the command of the Lord to Rephidim, the place of rest. The cure for many of our anxiety is just that. We need rest. You're working all the time, pushing hard. You now come to the place where you can just go, oh, Lord, I need you. Lord, let me see you. Let me hear you. It's one of the reasons why the team, or leadership of the church, our elders said, Charlie, you've got to take a sabbatical. Oh, no, I don't need a sabbatical. No, you need rest. You need a Sabbath, sabbatical. Take this time away. Some of you need emotional rest, spiritual rest, physical rest. Just a place where God has gotten you out of sin. He saved you. You're trying to follow his commands. And he's saying, I need you to rest. And some of you are fighting that. Some of you, God has asked you to do some things and you know what he's asked you to do, but you haven't been obedient. And it may be a time where saying, just come to Rephidim. When the kings of Israel would do right. If you read the Old Testament, you read about these kings, and they're just crazy. Sometimes they do good, and then they do bad. And if they did good, the Word of God would say, and they had rest on every side. And the Lord gave them rest on every side. Same concept. A place of peace, a place of rest. Okay. We tried it our way. We failed. We try it God's way. This is cool. We get consumed about us being in control. Any of you bowl? The kids went bowling the other night. You never see somebody bowl and then just go sit down. Hey, nice job, you got a spare. What? Oh yeah. Oh, cool. No, what do? Oh! You're fighting, you're talking to that thing the whole way down. I gotcha! That's called anxiety. I can't control, once that leaves, I can't control that ball. It don't matter, yelling. This is not, what's that game they play in the Olympics? Yeah, that one where they're yelling at it. I promise you, they would say that yelling at it helps that little brick to go down the thing, but it doesn't work. You let it go. God, I can rest now. I've thrown the ball. I've done what you told me to do. I'm following your command. And the world promises all kinds of substitutes for Rephidim. Pick your poison. Alcohol, shopping, right? Change your spouse, change your environment. We just get to this house. And Jesus is the only one who makes good on his call. Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you Rephidim. Yeah.